Unreasonable haste is the direct road to error. Moliere. I want to stand up and clear up something. Not one of us thinks that we should or can afford to stand still, to not do anything. We all watch the nightly news. We have neighbors and constituents who've lost their jobs, who are not sure how they're going to make their next house payment. No one thinks we can do nothing. In fact, I know there are many people on my side of the aisle who would like to support the elimination of the surcharge, myself included. I'll go even further. I thought it was a bad idea from the start. But faced with a shutdown and limited options, this is what the bipartisan agreement yielded. Remember, you negotiated this surcharge because you, like us, couldn't stomach the cuts to health care, education, and public safety that the budget hole would have necessitated. Also remember, you agreed to the surcharge after your side of the aisle proposed and ultimately nixed a services tax. And now you want it both ways? Spend the money and cut taxes? Well, that just doesn't add up. There's no doubt that the ugliness of the shutdown days still haunts us all. But let us not forget the lesson that haste does not yield good policy decisions. Let me illustrate my point. First, we eliminated the SBT without a replacement. Then, ultimately at the last hour, we created the MBT with this surcharge. And now we are here eliminating the surcharge with neither a replacement nor the courage to identify corresponding cuts in the budget. Another quote, "The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result." That's Einstein. This is particularly true when the price is so great and decisions like this are going to have an indelible impact on the already fragile budget. Yes, we want to move forward, absolutely. But with mature reflection and a dedication to ensure the things that we hold dear are not blindly sacrificed in the process. The danger with voting on a cut like this without explaining how to pay for it is that we'll be right back here in several months from now saying that we must cut vital services. Some senators on the other side of the aisle have even hinted publicly that the earned income tax credit may be back on the chopping block. So what you're saying today is that you're going to cut these business taxes because they need our help in these tough economic times, yet you may be willing to shift that burden onto the already struggling workers of our state. That's more than 700,000 Michigan families who are barely able to get by that you could be targeting. Let me say it again, that's over 700,000 who could have about $1,000 left in their pocket to buy a new stove, fix their car, get to work, take a sick kid to the doctor, or heat their home. We should, by all means, consider the needs of our business community. And like I said, there are many of us who would like to support a measure like this. But we can't seek to alleviate those needs, to address those needs by picking the pockets of Michigan's working class men and women who are being hit the hardest by this economic crisis. Accordingly, at this juncture, Mr. President, I'm unable to support this bill and ask that my colleagues join me in voting no. I also ask that my comments be recorded as my no vote explanation in the Journal.